Okay, so thanks, Lockie, for the introduction. This presentation will be on Introduction to HashiCorp Vault. Who am I? Just had an introduction from Lockie, but my name's Brad McCoy. I'm originally from New Zealand in Christchurch, and I'm now working in Sydney for a fintech company called Basic, and also a HashiCorp ambassador as well. So spending a lot of time in the hugs, which is the HashiCorp user groups. I'm also a board member of the Continuous Delivery Foundation, so I spend a little time in the DevOps world, and also a lot of time in the CNCF as well. So looking forward to meeting everyone, whoever comes to the hugs. So what is HashiCorp Vault? So we're going to go over quite a few, well, as fast as we can. I mean, this talk's 30 minutes, but really what I want to get out of this talk today is how can you adopt it into your organization? Because anyone can go learn HashiCorp Vault, but the real challenge is to actually convince people, okay, this is what we actually want to use, and how you can try and do that as well. So HashiCorp Vault, you can secure, store, and tightly control access to tokens, passwords, certificates, encryption keys for protecting secrets, and other sensitive data through the UI, CLI, and HTTP API. So really, I mean, it's for, we'll go over some other things as well, but the different flavors of Vault is you can have the open source flavor. So you can pretty much, deploy it anywhere that you want. I personally play around with this on Kubernetes, which I enjoy. Starting off, probably, you can just use the CLI and have it working locally is a good way that I'll show you today. If I was to probably, we're starting to implement this soon, so I would like to use the manage Vault because it's easier for me. I don't have to really, because my team's quite small these days, I don't have to support and operate the open source version. So my strategy is probably going to be to use a manage Vault. And then you have enterprise as well, which is for, more big banks and the really big companies. So common use cases for Vault, obviously secrets management. So I think it's important to know that it's not just for storing your usernames and passwords. There's so much more to it. The documentation on HashiCorp is really great. I really enjoy the videos that they have as well. So one use case is secrets management. You can centrally store, access, and deploy secrets across applications, systems, and infrastructure. There's Kubernetes secrets as well, which I'm spend a lot of time with, involved at the moment, playing around with. So you can install Vault using Helm, or customize, or whatever other way you want to do it with manifest files. And then you can leverage Vault and Kubernetes to securely inject secrets into your application stack. If we have time at the end, I'll show you how I deploy Vault with Argo CD into Kubernetes as well. That's probably going to be another talk though. We also have dynamic secrets. So dynamic secret is generated on demand, and it's unique to a client instead of a static secret, which is defined ahead of time and shared. So one good thing, if you jump on the videos, you can see that they talk a lot about moving targets. So it's getting short-lived secrets, and you can always, the hackers will never really get you because you're always changing and you're moving around. You can also use it for DB cred rotation. So implementing Vault like pretty early on and sooner rather than later is good for doing stuff like this, because sometimes you generate a lot of tech debt and then you can't do the more advanced capabilities like DB cred rotation. So really you want to automate your secrets with it. It's probably a good way of explaining how it works. So DB cred rotation, you can automatically rotate database passwords and then Vault's database secrets engine. There's also identity-based access as well, authenticate and access different cloud systems and endpoints using trusted identities. And then you have the PKI infra as well. So you can use Vault to generate certificates. Another thing that I'm playing around with in Kubernetes with Certs Manager as well, which is very cool. So two more as well. So data encryption and tokenization keep application data secure with one centralized workflow for data that resides in untrusted or semi-trusted systems outside of Vault. And key management, use of standardized workflow for distribution and lifestyle management across KMS providers, and many more. These are just a few of them. So how does Vault work? So Vault works primarily with tokens, and a token is associated with the client's policy. Each policy is path-based, and the policy rules contain the actions and accessibility to the path for each client. With Vault, you can create tokens manually and assign them to your clients, or the clients can log in and obtain a token. So this is a pretty full-on, but a nice way to look at Vault. So you can see on the left, which we'll talk about next a little bit in stages as well. So you can use these ways to authentication methods. So it's the identity validation that you can see on the left. Once you know someone or the machine or the client human identity, you then want to then go see what authorization do they have. So that's where Vault policies come in. And it's going to be a really cool talk up next, which is a deep dive into policies, which is when you're learning Vault, it's really important to learn. And then the last step is the secret retrieval as well. So you can see that over here, you can store many different secrets. You can hook them up into the cloud providers as well with HashiCorp tools also, and your standard key value pairs, etc. So there's many more than this. Like they probably just couldn't fit it all on one picture, but this is in the next slides we'll talk about this a little bit more about what it actually does. So the first step, like we said before, is you authenticate. So the client submits their identity, and it's good to know when you're sort of learning these things, the difference between authentication, authorization, and the sort of security world. So you authenticate, so that's saying, okay, we know who this person is or who this machine is, and then we're going to validate it. So Vault validates, so it's going to validate the client identity against a trusted third party. And then they're going to authorize it. So the client match against the Vault security policy will say, okay, we know that John has access, John is John, and then he has access to go retrieve these secrets as well. So that's the whole part of the authorization. And then access, so Vault will then grant the client access to the secret keys based on policies. So this is probably one of my key takeaways that I'd like to emphasize is how can you adopt Vault in your organization or learn it as well. So whenever you want to use new technology or something different, there's a lot of people that are scared. So influencing different personas is really important. So you could be any one of these personas. So you could generally maybe an engineer, I would imagine, that would want to adopt this. They have to then go convince their manager that we should be using this. And then they might have to go to the CTO, CIO as well. So this is the hardest part. Like learning Vault is actually the easiest, but when the managers, that they might say, well, we use AWS for secrets management. Why would we want to use Vault? And this is the challenge that you have doing it. And normally that I find that upskilling people is the best way to go about it, because once you upskill people, you'll see that they won't be scared because generally they're scared. Okay, I don't know what this thing is. Like it could be Vault or any technology. And if you run like I did a talk last Hashi Talks on DevOps dojos that was quite effective for these things. So each week, it doesn't have to be called DevOps dojo. You can call them like innovation labs. You could even make it part of your sort of agile methodology as well, getting that in there. So running these labs and training people in the business, and even just playing around with it, like just having a fun day where you all come in and do some cool stuff together, you try it out, and that will get the culture going, and then that will help influence the personas. And it's the same in engineering as well. So you have the cloud DevOps team generally. You have like a product owner as well who has deliverables. So they're sort of a blocker in a way where they have a certain deliverable they have to meet. So you have to influence these people as well. So you're having that collaboration and breaking down those silos of what DevOps is about really helps. So you can also do a bit of cross-pollination as well. So you can take someone out of the cloud team, stick them in the development team, and put a development team in the cloud, and see how sort of the both worlds work, and break those silos down, and then that will really it'll accelerate how you can adopt Vault and make your life better. Another way is the certification path. So normally I'm not actually a big fan of certifications, but the HashiCorp ones I really love. I wish that I did the Terraform one a lot earlier, because a lot of like best practices and things that I just didn't do, and I had to go back and refactor the code, and I could have done it in less code and less time. So I'm actually studying my Vault certification at the moment. So I'm going through, HashiCorp has really good, you don't really need to go to like a Udemy or thing. You can just read straight from the docs if you've already played around with it. They have a really good, which we'll show you in the next slide of what's involved. And then you have your certified operations professional as well, that I know nothing about. So I will start looking into that after I do the certified associate, but that will obviously be the next step up, is to do the operations professional. So it's highly deemed in the DevOps world as well. A lot of companies are going to Vault, and if you have those skills, then it's really, really great on your CV. So for the certified associate, these are the topics that they'll go over. So compare authentication methods that we pretty much just talked about before, creating Vault policies, which we'll talk about in the next one. So hopefully these two Vault talks will actually spark an interest to actually learn it and check it out, which we'll share some links. Someone will send the links in the YouTube channel now. So the other ones are, access Vault tokens, manage Vault leases, compare and configure secrets engines, utilizing the CLI, the UI, API, explaining the architecture, and then encryption as a service. So that it's quite a cool path to go down. And it's going to teach you a lot around security as well, and not just Vault. And it sort of opens your mind up to traditional ways where you're probably not managing your secrets that well. And it just really keeps you educated on how you can always improve your DevSecOps capability in your business. So we'll do a bit of a demo now as well. This is going to be super easy. So the idea of this is that after today, we want folks to be able to just go onto their computer and have a Vault server running, and then play around, and then the rest is up to you. You can do as little as much as you want. So I use Mac. Apologies if you don't. I'm assuming that maybe most people here will use Macs. If you don't use a Mac, it's pretty similar. All this content is straight from HashiCorp website as well. I haven't done anything differently, so you can just go straight into the website and it will tell you exactly the same in Windows or Linux if you use Linux. So you can see here we just brew install, and then we type Vault, and that will tell us all of the, like here, so we can brew tap, brew install, and then that's gonna obviously download Vault. So Homebrew is a really great tool if you haven't used it before. And then you'll see here that Vault's downloaded, and then you can just run Vault and then check out if it works. So you upgrade it if it needs to, and then write Vault, and then it'll verify. These are all the commands that you use. So if you want to start the server, you can just simply go Vault server dev, and in the next slide as well, I'll tell you how to use the help command. So if you ever get stuck or you forget something, you just go Vault help, or you can use the sub command help, and that will tell you everything you need to know. It's super easy. So Vault server dev, you type Vault server dev, and then you'll see that you get a URL and then a root token at the bottom. So that's very important, because that's how you can interact with the CLI. So you can see here that you can export that environment variable for your local computer, and then you can use that to talk to Vault with the CLI. It'll point it and use your Vault token. And remember, this is like a dev environment too. It's not really made for production. And then also you can use that URL to go into the Vault UI as well. So that's sort of the key things you need to know when you're installing it on your computer. Vault KV help. So this is what I was saying before about it as well. So if you ever don't know what to do, you just go help. And then you can see here, we go Vault help, boom, gives you all the commands that you need. And then you can go into the sub command as well. And then that will give you all of the other parameters that you need, sub commands, and you can see it does everything for you, like Vault, get, mount secret, etc. So we'll do a UI walkthrough at the moment as well. So I can actually probably just show you this straight on my computer. So let's do that actually. So this is what Vault looks like. So it's always cool to see what the actual thing looks like instead of me just showing a picture of it. So you can see here that you have your secret engines. I'll show in the slides how to enable a secret engine, but super easy. It talks over what we talked about at the start of what things you can use. We have access as well. So auth tokens, you can enable new methods into these groups leases, a bit more advanced. Policies as well, which we're going to see up next. So I won't talk too much about it, but I'm really excited to see the policies talk next. And then tools, so you can use wrap, unwrap, some pretty cool tools there. One really cool thing that I love is the CLI. So you can actually have a CLI in the UI, which is awesome. And you can do all those commands in there as well. So you don't actually need to use like your whatever, CLI tool. This Vault is running on my computer at the moment. And you can see here that I got the root token and the URL, and then that's what I'm looking at in the UI now at the moment, but I can use the CLI as well. So that's like a pretty fast look, but you can see it's pretty easy stuff. It's not too hard. So within a couple of minutes, you can get this up and play around with it and do a mini POC and then see if you want to adopt it, and you can teach others as well. So yeah, you can see here that this is enabling a secret engine. You can choose just the standard one, the easiest one to do is just a key value pair, which I'm going to do here. And then path is quite important in Vault. Everything's got a path to it. So I'm enabling a new secrets engine, and then boom. And you can do that the same on the CLI. So anything you can do in the UI, you can do in the CLI as well, or the API. API is not really used as much, but you can see here that, yeah. So this one here is Vault secrets enable path HashiTalks key vault, and then you can see here that I've enabled the KV secrets. And then creating a secret as well, you can just go into create secret. All secrets are versioned. So you can see here that I'm typing path of the secret is Australia, New Zealand, and then I'm putting secret data hub and Sydney to create the secret. And yeah, you can see an example CLI. And then this is the same thing as well, creating a secret. Very, very simple. All this can be found in the documentation. I won't talk too much into it at the moment, but you can see here that we're mounting from the secret, and then we want to say hello foo. And this is straight from the examples as well. And then you can see that the version is 1 as well. So you can keep doing different versions of the secret, and then you can read it back as well. So I actually made a small Golang app as well, which I'll share later, which I won't have time to demo, but I've shown a Golang app of how you can interact with this as well through Go, and have some Helm charts and things that I use in Argo CD as well that I can share. So reading the secret is very similar as well. And that was introduction to Vault, and I hope you enjoyed it. there's a link to the Sydney HashiCorp user group as well if you'd like to join us and come talk about Vault or see some more stuff on Vault as well, which will be running like a certification program, which we did the same for Terraform. So yeah, thank you for watching.